Hello and welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life with your host Avik. This podcast is all about exploring the latest research, sharing personal stories, and providing personal tips for improving our mental health and well-being. Each episodes will be joined by experts in the field of mental health, as well as individuals who have experienced the transformative power of a healthy mind firsthand. Together, we will dive into a range of topics from managing stress and anxiety to building resilience and cultivating happiness. So, join us on this journey to discover new ways to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls. And let's work together to create a healthier, happier world one episode at a time. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today we have a very special guest, Brian Green. So, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Lovely, lovely. So, Brian, before we start delving into this today's topic, where we'll be talking about healthy habits for men over 40, I would love to mention this to all of our listeners that Brian is a certified wellness coach, podcast host, author, and human movement specialist with almost 20 years of experience in the health industry. So he specializes in helping men over 40 develop the sustainable health habits to regain their strength, fitness, and body confidence. So Brian's approach is very unique. Like he doesn't believe in diets, counting calories, or quick fixes. So instead, he focuses on a holistic view of health, considering all aspects of an individual's lifestyle, including stress, activity, sleep, nutrition, and the meal timings. So, with this extensive background in functional diagnostic nutrition, integrative nutrition, precision nutrition, and the primal health, Brian is dedicated to finding what works best for each person to build a strong foundation of sustainable habits. So, today we will be diving into the essential habits men over 40 can adopt to transform their lives. So, why to wait? Let's jump in. Let's welcome again to the show, Brian.
Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, and I'm glad to be on here. Excited.
Lovely, lovely. So Brian, like to start with, if you can share a bit about your journey and what motivated you to focus on helping men over 40 develop the healthy habits.
Yeah. So like you've mentioned, I've been in health and wellness for about 20 years, and uh, gosh, I started coaching individuals at a studio, a small gym studio, and was getting good results for individuals, but realized that obviously lifting weights is one aspect, but there's a lot more that goes to, building a healthy life than just lifting weights. It's one big aspect. And I started delving into nutrition, and stress management and sleep quality and other things. They all sort of are tied hand in hand. And so that sort of led me down the path of just getting more education around these topics. And then realizing as I got older that it was important to maybe help the 40 plus crowd, because sometimes the 40 plus men, not that they get neglected, but a lot of times they don't necessarily reach out for help right away. And I just started to work with, middle-aged men, and that's sort of just been my niche. So, just trying to help them, increase their quality of life and reach their goals.
Okay, understood. So, what are some of the unique health challenges that men over 40 face compared to their younger counterparts? What to say?
Yeah. So I would say some of the biggest ones are, as we age, if we're inactive, we have sarcopenia can come about, so muscle loss. Along with we're seeing this just over across the board is testosterone has gone down. It automatically, it naturally goes down as we get older, and it's just gone down at a greater pace over the last few decades. So testosterone and then body fat percentage has gone up. simply mainly for men around the waist, the visceral fat around
Hmm.
their hips and their waist.
Yeah.
So those are some of the big ones. And I think sleep quality has also gone down in general, just from what I've seen. And I think a lot of this has to do with just being on screens all day, and not necessarily focusing on a healthy sleep routine. So, I mean, there's a lot of different topics and areas that we can delve into, but those are some of the biggest ones that I see.
Oh, that's really lovely, and it's very very true. Yeah. So, sustainable habits. Okay. So, I mean, what are some of the key habits that you would recommend for men over 40 to maintain the strength and fitness?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I mentioned it already, was uh, to have some type of strength training routine. That's a weekly routine, whether that's once a week or twice a week or even three times. Something's better than nothing, because loss of muscle mass and strength and function as we get older. Is a real thing, and also with bone density.
Yeah.
So I think that this should be at probably one of the higher pillars of health, especially for men and women as we age, because I think muscle mass decreases approximately like 3 to 8% per decade after the age of 30, and even a higher decline after the age of 60. So, having this involuntary loss of muscle mass it can cause an issue, and we know as we get older we want to have that quality of life where we're able to spend time with family and play with our kids and grandkids. And if you're dealing with sarcopenia, it makes it that much more difficult. So
Mhm. Yeah.
that would be my first habit. Next is, gosh, I mean, focusing on getting outside.
Yeah.
I know sometimes in the winter in
Yeah.
Chicago where I'm at, it's not always that easy, but just getting outside, going for daily walks.
Hmm.
Um, I just think that's like something that most people can do, and it's just a way to increase energy, sort of balance our blood sugars, and just get us outside and seeing the sun, which is great just for mood and
Yeah.
vitamin D levels and things like that.
Hmm.
So daily walks and resistance training, I think, are a good place to start.
True. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, also, when we're talking about health, so nutrition and the diet is also something. So, how do you approach this diet and nutrition without advocating for uh, strict diets or calorie
Mhm.
counting like this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that everyone sort of has their own views on this, and what I've found in the health and wellness field is that restriction has become sort of the thing where like we have to actually like eliminate food groups or like restrict a macronutrient.
Yeah.
You're seeing this, and I've tried a lot for myself, from low carb to fasting, and I think that like sometimes those can play a role, but I think that focusing on, I know it might sound um, but like just a balanced diet that focuses on eliminating like processed foods, and eating single ingredient foods and cooking for yourself. I think those are the big pillars and the most important things, other than just trying to eliminate certain food groups. Sometimes people are sensitive to certain food groups and they have to eliminate them, but if you can try to just eat a balanced, protein, carbs, and
Mm.
fats, a mix of all three, and I think that that can just
Yeah.
help with just maintaining like a longevity when it comes to, if you want to call it dieting. But like I think that when you start eliminating a lot of things, it sort of puts too much restriction, and might not be sustainable for the long haul. So I think most importantly is just eating foods that are in their natural state, and are low in vegetable oils and things like that, where they get processed in. I think that right there can go a long way to improving health.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of or types of exercises do you recommend for maintaining the fitness and the strength as men ages?
Yeah. So you have to, when it comes to
Hmm.
resistance training, and
Yeah.
building muscle strength, I think there's a few things you want to take into consideration. One is you need to make sure that you are doing some type of lifting. I think a lot of times with these gyms and these studios, there's, people go on an elliptical for 45 minutes and they think that they're getting in shape. But I think to be efficient, you want to make sure that you lift heavier things. And I would say 2 to 3 sessions a week is probably, I would say, optimal.
Okay.
And from there, so that would be, that would look like essentially you could do, 2 to 3 sets of 4 to 6 exercises. And, that should be enough to suffice for sufficient gym time. And so you can do total body if you're just starting out. And I think, start with total body, and then you can always do, split it like for example, for myself, I lift 2 days of upper body and then 2 days of lower body every week. So from there, after that, making sure obviously that we get our dietary protein, because that's going to help stimulate that muscle growth. I think protein is one of those things that probably is underconsumed for a lot of people. So I think protein needs actually go up with activity level and age. And then after that, just getting enough rest and recovery is important too. Especially as we get older, we have to make sure that we're getting sufficient sleep and recovery so we can come back and have our next workout to be that much more beneficial.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, if you can also explain the importance of meal timings and how it impacts the health and the fitness.
Yeah. So, I mean, meal timing, I think can play, well, how about this? It can play a role. I don't think it's like the top priority, but like if you've been eating a certain way and you're struggling, I think that I actually think eating earlier in the day has been shown to be of benefit. I think when you start eating real late at night, a lot of times we're not eating healthy things. And so I find that people who eat past, 7, even 8 o'clock, a lot of times you're snacking on things that aren't serving you. So I think if you can gear your meals actually earlier in the day, and to be done eating and giving yourself time to digest before you go to sleep, first of all, you're going to have better quality of sleep and more time to digest. And it's going to create that snowball effect of having quality sleep. So I think that when it comes to meal timing, earlier in the day is probably better, and then taper that off as you get into the evening so you can give yourself time to digest before you go to bed.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's very, very true. Yeah. So, if you could also share some of the success stories like from your clients who have transformed their lives through your program.
Yeah. So my program is I've typically worked with an individual for 6 months. And I mean, really, we hit on everything, anything from, we start out with talking about like, clarity as far as why they want to actually improve their health.
Yeah.
And then we go into like, what can they do as far as identifying like sort of those low hanging fruits to make the biggest impact in their health. And then from there, we focus on, a proven like customized workout routine that fits into their lives. And then we get into sleep, stress, and, meal timing and things like that. But, as far as testimonials, I can tell you recently, working with an individual, who was in his mid 40s. And I think that what happened with this individual is he was focusing not too much on his work and not enough on his health, which I think can happen with a lot of people. They start putting their health on the back burner. And he realized that he had a history of, diabetes in his family, and wanted to make sure that, he was around for his kids. So, just helped him get his habits back in order, and prioritize his health more than anything else. Because I always say, if you don't have your health, what do you have? And so just got him into implementing these weekly habits, and he's been doing great. And he wasn't a type of individual who needed to necessarily lose a lot of weight, but
Okay.
I think a lot of people equate, oh well, if you don't lose weight, that's not necessarily a good thing. But I think more importantly is just implementing these habits.
Yeah.
And, like just creating a healthy lifestyle, and then the results will actually happen. They might happen a little bit down the line. But if someone has put on weight or developed bad habits over the last 30, 40 years, it's going to take some time. I think most importantly, it's just about establishing those new habits, and then the results will actually come a little bit later.
Understood. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are some of the common misconceptions about health and fitness for men over 40 that you would like to dispel?
Mm. Um, That's a good question. I mean, I think some of the myths around, losing weight or around, as we age, like I think one of the things is as we get older,
Yeah.
some individuals think that they actually can't get stronger, right? Like, or not necessarily they can't get stronger, but like
Hmm.
you can build muscle up until your 60s and 70s, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's been shown and it can be done. So I think that that's probably one myth that's out there for
Hmm.
some people. They think, oh, well, I haven't been lifting my whole life. Then, what's the point of starting now? But there's obviously, like we talked about earlier, there's a
Hmm.
huge reason to start, and it's never too late. So that's a big one. And I think another myth or like misconception out there is the fact that, gosh, probably that you need to restrict is it to actually lose weight. I think that
Hmm.
there's ways to just sort of change the way you're eating. Um, I'm not saying that calories isn't important, but I think it's only one aspect of,
Hmm.
of healthy eating. And I think if we can get away from boxes and barcodes and eating, processed foods, I think from that alone can help you sort of get to where you want to go. I think that like we keep trying to restrict more calories, restrict like certain macronutrients, carbohydrates. And, I was one that was fairly low carb for a long time and realized that carbs can play a healthy role in your life. And so I think that like all this restricting stuff has probably gotten a little bit out of hand for a lot of people, and you can get results without restricting.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, what are the resources or the support system like do you offer to help men on their health journey?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is when I work with someone, it's focusing on daily,
Hmm.
excuse me, not daily, but weekly talks. So we talk once a
Okay.
week. Yeah, we talk once a week for an hour, and pretty much just go through everything they've been doing in the past and
Hmm.
break that down. So and we just then it's just about establishing new habits and holding that person accountable. Because I think
Hmm.
most people have an idea of what they should do for the most part, but they don't do it because they're not really held accountable.
Hmm.
And so that's the biggest thing. And then we do measurements. Some clients I do have them take what's called a DEXA scan, which is just a great, yeah, just a way to measure body fat percentage and lean mass and things like that. And so that we know where we're starting from, and then we sort of decide our goals based on that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay, like, what are your future goals for your coaching practice and the personal health mission?
What are the future goals of my practice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is I came out with a book a few months ago,
Okay.
and yeah, so it's called the Stepladder System, and
Hmm.
I just took my 6 month program and put it into that book.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a workbook. So it allows people to actually maybe who don't want to, or maybe they can't
Hmm.
afford coaching, they have a way to implement it into their lives and make it so they can build it sustainably for the long term. So I think my goal is just to reach more people through
Hmm.
that workbook and just help as many people as possible, whether it's one-on-one coaching or with my stepladder system book.
Oh, that's really, really great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, like, what parting advice do you have for our listeners who are looking to transform their health and their lives?
I mean, I would just tell someone that they should just build one habit at a time
Uh-huh.
and not try to get overwhelmed too much. So
Mhm.
if there's one area that they know needs the most improvement, just focus
Mhm.
on that area first before anything else. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times people try to do everything all at once and then nothing gets done. So
Yeah.
I would just focus on that one area. That person is very sedentary, so
Uh,
they should focus on just daily walks, and that make that be the focus for the next 2 to 4 months until it becomes a habit, and then they can move on to the next area and continually build from there.
Understood. Understood. Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing your insights. It's really, really great. And for the listeners, I'd love to mention, like, I hope that all of you have found our conversation with Brian as inspiring and informative as we did. So, Brian's insights into developing healthy habits for men over 40 have given us valuable strategies to enhance our well being and transform our lives. So remember that it's never too late to start making positive changes, and small, sustainable habits can definitely lead to a significant long-term benefits. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends, family, or others. So thank you so much again for listening, and until next time, take care of your mind, body, and life. Live your healthiest life. Thank you so much.